everyone, welcome to Sun and Moon Yoga Studios YouTube channel. My name is Suzanne and I'm going to lead you through side plank today, Vashisthasana. So it'll be about a 30-minute practice. You'll just probably need your mat, no props necessary. So enjoy your yoga practice. So I'm going to have you start on your backs. With legs extended long. You're going to settle into your practice, bringing your awareness to your body and to your breath and your mind. Clear away any thoughts, feelings, questions, anything you have roaming around in your mind. Acknowledge all of those thoughts and let them go. Send them along their way and come back to your breath, your mindful breathing. On your next inhale, bring your arms all the way up overhead. Take a nice big deep full body stretch here. And then on your exhale, walk your feet over to the left side of your mat. Your hands and arms over to the left side of your mat. Finding length through your right side body. You can even take your left hand to your right elbow and allow it a little bit more of a stretch through that right side of your body. And then inhale, walk your feet back to the center, hands back to the center. Bring your feet over to the right side of your mat. Hands over, arms over to the right side of your mat. And then if you'd like to come into that bind, bring your right hand to your left wrist and maybe a little bit more length through this left side body. And then on your inhale, bring your legs back center, arms back center. Take a nice big deep full body stretch here. And then exhale, bring your arms down along your side body. Bend your legs, place your feet on the mat. We're going to come into a couple of pelvic tilts here. So you're going to place your fingers on your hip pointers. That's the bony part in the front of your hips. And you're going to gently bring your hip pointers towards your chest for a little bit of a tuck in your pelvis. And then on your exhale, tilt your pelvis so those hip pointers go away from the front of your mat. Inhale, tuck. Exhale and tilt. Inhale, tuck. Exhale, tilt. And one more time. Inhale, tuck. Exhale and tilt. It's nice to get a little bit of that spine waking up, especially if it's the first thing in the morning. And then gently bring your left or right arm up, roll over to that side of your mat, and come on up into a table pose. So I'm going to be turning left and right on my mat just so that you can see the side of my body that's working, but you can stay facing forward on your mat. You don't need to necessarily move. So you're going to come into table pose. Knees are right underneath hips. Wrist, elbows right underneath your shoulders for that nice, strong, firm foundation. We're going to flow through a couple of cat-cow poses here. You're going to drop your belly, lift your chin. And then round your spine. Bring your spine up towards the ceiling. Tuck your chin, drop belly, lift chin, round your spine. One more time, drop your belly, lift your chin, and exhale, round your spine. Bring your chin to your chest. And then inhale, come into a nice long spine. Step your right leg back behind you, toes are on the mat. Gently lift this leg up. Continue to balance on your palms and your left leg, and then gently bring this left arm up. And breathe. Try not to hold your breath. Enjoy your breath. And then gently release your hand back down to the mat. Bring your right leg down to the mat. Push back into child's pose and circle your wrists. And then lift on back up into your table pose. Extend your left leg back behind you, toes on the mat. Lift this left leg up and extend your right arm forward. Gaze down towards your mat. Find yourself in a strengthening and a balancing pose here. And then gently bring your right hand back down to the mat. Left leg down to the mat. Inhale as you flex your feet and lift on up into downward facing dog. So imagine this is your first practice of your day. Bend and straighten your legs. Even if it's not, it's nice to kind of work into your downward facing dog, finding a little bit of movement in your hips and your belly. And then come to stillness. You're going to lift your left leg up behind you. Flex the foot, bend this leg, and then you're going to stack your hips so that your left hip comes on top of your right hip, and then you gaze underneath your left underarm. Make sure you're pressing those palms into your mat, lifting up, lengthening here. Then take a nice inhale as you bring this left leg back behind you. Exhale, set the left leg down. Stay where you are. I'm going to turn to the other side. Take a nice inhale here and lift your right leg up behind you. Exhale as you bend your knee and stack your hips so that your right hip is on top of your left. Again, maybe you gaze underneath this right underarm. Still coming into that nice downward facing dog pose. Three-legged dog here. And then inhale. Bring this right leg back behind you. Exhale. Bring the foot down to the mat. Dropping your knees, push back into child's pose. Lifting your forearms up, circling your wrists. Go in both directions. Okay, so now you're going to push back up into your table pose. Flex your feet and lift on up into your downward facing dog pose. And breathe. See if you can press your palms firmly into your mat, lifting your hips a teeny tiny bit more behind you. And breathe. Enjoy your breath. And staying in this downward facing dog figure, we're going to come into dolphin pose. Dolphin pose, you bring your forearms to the mat. Body stays in that downward facing dog alignment. And breathe. Enjoy your breath here. And then drop your knees to the mat. Sit back into child's pose. Lift your forearms up, circle wrists. And then come up into table pose. And come up onto your shins. So from here, you're going to bring your right hand out to the right side of your mat. You're going to bring this left leg out so that your toes are pointing forward towards the side of your mat. You can have your fingers cupped as you hold here, but think about putting a little more weight into this right leg, lifting up here, making an arch with your spine, the low part of your spine, bringing your hand to your waist. And if you notice my arm here, It's right, my wrist is underneath my elbow, underneath my shoulder. I'm not back behind it or in forward. It's right underneath my shoulder. Hand on your waist, then you're going to gently lift your arm up towards the ceiling, and then maybe gaze up towards your fingers and breathe here. Enjoy your breath. And then take a nice big inhale here. Come all the way up, bring the arms out to a T. Step this left leg in, and then bring your right leg out. Bring your left hand to the mat. Right hand goes to your waist. Find a little bit more strength through this left bent leg, through this left arm. And then from here, lifting your arm up towards the ceiling, gaze up towards your fingers. Trying not to collapse through this left side of your body. So instead of coming down here, you're lifting up, finding that height. And then gently lift back up, come arms out to a T, bring this right foot and sit back into your hero's pose. And breathe. Okay, turn into the side on your mat. Come back into your table pose. Flex your feet, lift on up into your downward facing dog pose. From here, you're going to come forward into high plank pose. So in high plank pose, again, the wrists are underneath, the elbows underneath shoulders. Your belly button is in and up, so you have a nice line from the back of your head all the way down to your heels. And breathe. So finding that nice, firmly planted left palm and right palm, left fingers into the mat, lifting your sitting bones up, lifting your hips up. From this plank pose, I'm going to have you drop your belly down and come into an up dog pose. Gaze forward. And then gently lift those hips back up. Come on it to that high plank pose. And then turn your heels over to the right side of your mat. Heels back up to the center. Heels to the left side of the mat. Heels back up to the center. Turn your heels to the right side of your mat. Lift this left foot up and bring it about halfway between your foot and your hand. Pressing this left foot into the mat, lifting hips up here. Place your hand on this left hip. And then lift that left arm up, gaze up towards your fingers. Keep pushing this left foot into the mat, lifting your heart. And then take an inhale as you bring this left hand down to the mat. Lift this left foot up. Come back into that plank pose. Drop belly. Come into that up dog pose. Hips lifted up off, thighs lifted up off the mat. And then on your next exhale, push back up into your downward facing dog. I'm going to turn the other direction on my mat so that you can see what this supported side plank looks like on the right side. So step your legs out. And again, drop your heels to the left and back to center, to the right and back to center. And then bring your heels down to the left side of your mat. Bring this right foot forward. You can help it up. Place your hand on your waist. Notice the alignment of your arm, nice strong support, stability here. And then lifting this right arm up, gazing up at your fingers. Pushing this left foot into the mat, lifting those hips up a little bit higher. And then release your right arm down. Bring your right leg back. Drop your belly, lift your chest, lift your heart, open up. And then drop your knees down. Push back into child's pose. And then lift on back into your table pose. All right, so we're going to start extending the right leg to start with. So bring your hands out. Step both legs back into your high plank pose. From here, lift your hips up into downward facing dog. Keep breathing here. Lift your right leg up back behind you. Exhale as you bend the knee, bring it into your chest, and then step that right foot forward. Pivot your left heel down and come into side plank from downward facing dog. Keep pushing this left foot into the mat, lifting your hips up, finding this nice rainbow arch of your spine. On your inhale, you're going to bring your right hand back down to the mat, pivot this left heel up, and jump this right leg back. Come into downward facing dog. Staying in your downward facing dog. Lift your left leg up. Bend that left knee into your chest. Place that foot about halfway up. Turn your heart open. Pivot your right heel down. Hand goes to your waist. And then from here, you lift this left arm up. Gaze up at your fingers. Nice strong support in that right arm. Okay, on your inhale, bring your left hand back down to the mat, pivot your right heel up, and then lift up into your downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward into your plank pose. Bring your heels over to the right side of your mat. So in your plank pose, your legs can be stacked one in front of the other, or you can bring the left foot to the right. Or you can always bring this left foot forward and come into that supported plank, side plank pose. I'm going to come with my feet, one foot on top of the other, lifting my arm up, making this beautiful spinal arch here with your side body, and then bringing your gaze up towards your fingers. Inhale, lower down, bring the hand down, bring your heels back up towards the ceiling, drop your knees, sit back into child's pose. We're going to go into the other side. So side plank is balance pose, strength pose, flexibility pose. It's a big, gets all those involved. Every little part of your body's involved in this pose. So from your table pose, lift up into downward facing dog and come forward into your plank pose. Turn your heels over to the left side of your mat, and you can stack your feet here or have them in line with one another. Bring your hand to your waist, finding length through your side body. Bring your gaze towards the ceiling, and then bring this right arm up. Enjoy your breath. Enjoy your breathing. And then inhale, bring this left hand back down to the mat. Turn your heels up and come forward. Come into that up dog pose. Ooh, feels nice. And then from your up dog pose, bring your knees down, sit back into child's pose. Bring your hands, arms back behind you. Circle wrists. And turn your head side to side on your mat. And then bring your palms back about even with your chest. Push on up out of your child's pose and come to sit on your mat. Whew. So 3 different ways to get into, to practice your plank pose. And enjoy whichever pose works for you on any given day. Go with that pose. Try and remember that every single day your body is different, so you might need something different in your body. From your staff pose, your Dhanasana pose, lengthen out your spine, and then gently bring the soles of your feet together. Come into Baddha Konasana or butterfly legs. Have your hands bind your ankles or your feet. Take a nice inhale here and lengthen your spine. And then exhale and fold forward. On your next inhale, lift all the way up. Extend your legs out for a wide leg stance. So think about turning those upper thighs in. Toes pointing towards the ceiling. Feet pointing towards the ceiling. Toes towards the ceiling. Try not to overstretch those toes by bringing your toes towards your nose. But let your toes be free. Bring your hands back about even with your hips and lengthen out here. Lengthen your spine here. Feel like you're really rooting down on your sit bones. So if you'd like to lift yourself up with a blanket or a block, this is a nice place to use that if you have one available. You want to try and have the crown of your head lifted, spine long here, as opposed to spine rounded. I'll show you what that looks like from the side. So lifting up nice and tall on my sit bones, or I can fall back and round my spine. This usually happens if you have a tight low back, tight hamstring muscles, and it's where a blanket can come in handy to help you lift up and out of your hips. All right. So keeping those legs nice and extended. I know that was a little long. Bring your right arm up. Bring it to the top of your right leg, or maybe to the inside of your right leg. Bring your left arm up, and then gently bring it over towards framing your left ear. And breathe. Gaze can be up towards the ceiling or on the horizon. Just try not to drop your heart towards your mat. You want to find openness here. And you might even find you can come down to your toes. And then inhale, come back up. Bring the legs together, shake them out. Extend them wide again. We'll go into the other side. So bring your left hand to the top of your left leg or to the inside of your left leg. Bring your right arm up. Again, gazing up at your fingers. Heart is open. And then as you exhale, bring this right arm over to the left side of your body. If you're finding this stretch a little bit too intense, slightly bend your knees, and that might help you come a little bit deeper into the pose, into the stretch. And then inhale, bring your arms all the way up, bring your hands to the outside of your legs, draw them together, and shake them out. Nice. Okay, so you're going to turn to the left or right side of your mat. It doesn't matter which. We're going to work the body evenly in this next pose. So you're going to bring your hands a teeny tiny bit behind your hips, bend your legs so that your heels are on the ground, toes are lifted. You're going to lift your hips up and come into reverse table pose. Finding again that nice balance, that balance in your body, strength in your arms, strength through your core, through those abdominal muscles. And as you drop your hips, lift your heels up, swing your hips between your hands, lifting up here, keeping that hip up off your hips up off the mat. Take an inhale as you bend your knees, lift back up into this reverse table pose. Exhale, lift your toes up, come back into this swing motion, hips are lifted. One more time, take an inhale, lift hips. And exhale, Bring your hips back towards your hands and maybe lift one leg up, maybe the other leg up, maybe both, and then drop your hips down. Whew. Come up, circle wrists. Make sure you go in both directions. And then bend your legs, come all the way back onto your back. From here, you're going to draw your knees into your chest, bring your feet towards the ceiling, bring your hands to the outside of your feet or to your shins, draw your knees in a little closer towards your underarms, and gently rock side to side for happy baby pose. And then come to stillness. Bring your legs together. Bring your feet back down to the mat. Extend your right leg on the mat and your left leg on the mat. Bring your arms down along your side body. Take a nice big deep full body stretch here. Nice long spine. And then exhale, bring your arms down along your side body and prepare for your Shavasana. Shavasana is the final pose of your practice. It's also called the corpse pose or the do-nothing pose because ideally that's what you want to happen in Shavasana. Your body rests, it recovers, it gets stronger. And then begin to deepen your breath. Feel the rise and fall of your belly as your breath enters and exits. Start making little movements with your fingers and toes to awaken your body. Wiggle fingers, wiggle toes. Circle ankles, circle wrists. Bend your legs, bring your feet to the mat. Bring your right arm all the way up overhead. Roll over to the right side of your mat with your eyes closed. Pause here for a couple of breaths and check back in with your body, your breath, and your mind. And then, again, with your eyes closed for the last few moments of your practice, push on up into a comfortable seated pose. Anywhere in your mat, maybe somewhere where you can see me. Then you're going to bring your arms out to the side, palms up, gather all that energy that you created with your practice, all that positive energy. Bring palms together into heart center. We'll close class with the sound of Om. Inhale through your nose. I bow to the divinity, light, and love in each of you. Namaste. Thank you for joining me and Sun and Moon Yoga Studio for a practice on side plank. Hope to see you soon. Bye.